Hello everybody. So yesterday we made the toffee Christmas crackers and I've got a huge amount in my refrigerator. Gave out my first bag this morning to the gentleman who comes and cleans the streets, which I thought was fun. So today we're making Italian S cookies. This is a recipe I got off of billyparisi.com. It's my first time ever to make a homemade cookie besides the chocolate chip. It'll be my first time ever to knead dough and to cut in butter. So I'm excited. I hope this turns out, but I'm going to give it a try. So I'm gonna let Dwight, who's behind the camera, do you wanna come around this way and show what the recipe contains? Here's what we'll need. 4 cups of all-purpose flour, 1 1/3 cup of sugar, 2 tablespoons of baking powder, 2 1/2 sticks of unsalted butter, and I let that get to room temperature and I already cut it up into cubes, 2 eggs, 2 egg yolks, 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract, and have some cold water nearby just in case the dough tends to need some. And then for the glaze, we're going to be using powdered sugar and milk. So I've got my little recipe down here, and let's just dig right in. So we're going to start with 4 cups of all-purpose flour, and this does not need to be sifted because you're going to be kneading it. Boy, did I buy some big amounts of flour and sugar, as I plan on doing a lot of baking for the holiday this year. Anytime the mailman comes by, or UPS or FedEx or street sweeper guy, neighbors, you'll always have some kind of a little present to reach in and grab. That was 3. And 4. So you're going to take your flour and your sugar, which is 1 1/3 cup. Your baking powder, this calls for 2 tablespoons. Sounds like a lot, but that's what the recipe calls for. And I trust billyparisi.com because I used his recipe to make fried chicken, which you'll find on the website. And I'll tell you, that was the best fried chicken I've ever made in my life. Okay, take your flour, sugar, and baking powder, and you want to whisk that together. Make sure all these ingredients get incorporated together. Now, I do have a KitchenAid mixer. You can use the KitchenAid mixer, but he said it was more authentic if you do it by hand, so I'm doing it by hand. Okay, that should all be incorporated. Now to this, we're going to add 2 1/2 sticks of unsalted butter. Okay, so just a second ago, Dwight was telling me to remind everybody I did cut this butter into cubes while it was getting room temperature, which makes it a lot easier to cut in. I'm excited because this is my very first time ever using a little pastry thing to cut in butter. So you want to cut this butter in until it becomes like, he said, the size of couscous or rice. So it's going to take about 5 or 6 minutes to cut this in. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn off the camera and we'll be back when this is done.
Linda looked like she was having so much fun, and she told me, "This is fun." I said, "Well, let me try it." So she's letting me try it.
what I said was it's labor intensive. After about 4 minutes, I'll tell you what, my arm got tired. That is some work, cutting that butter in there. The recipe says to make sure it gets about the size of couscous or rice. And after we do it with the pastry cutter, the recipe calls to take your hands through it just to make sure you break it all up nice and small. How exciting though. All right. I have a great helper. Okay, Dwight had a stab at it. I had a stab at it. It looks pretty well cut in. I've just been using a knife to tap this out. Now I have taken my ring off, and he said to make sure your hands are clean, and see how like you have a piece of butter there. He said to go through it with your hands and make sure that all the butter is broken up. And he said, as soon as it's small, we're going to set this aside. So I think that's a great consistency right there. So we wash my hands, and then we're going to go for the eggs and vanilla. Okay, so now we have the flour and sugar and butter mixture set aside. And the recipe calls for 4 eggs, 2 of them whole, 2 of them just the yolks. So we'll start out with the 2 whole eggs. And this is going into a separate bowl. There's the 2 whole eggs. Now we'll just do the egg yolks. Hopefully I don't mess this up. Could use your hands, which is what most people do. Yolk. We'll save these egg whites for something else. Maybe some egg white omelets with peppers and onions in it.
Maybe some meringue.
Meringue. You know, I do have a recipe that calls for meringue, which I'll be making later this week, but I'm not going to save them that long.
Oh.
Let me get this little strangler off of here. Okay. So that is 2 whole eggs, 2 egg yolks, and 1 tablespoon of vanilla extract. And then we're going to whisk this until it's completely combined. And here comes the part I'm most excited about. I told Dwight when I retire, I want to learn how to make homemade pasta, where you get in there and you make your own dough and knead it and cut it and everything. Haven't done it yet, but this is going to be almost like making a pasta. Let me clear this out of the way. Now I have thoroughly cleaned this entire surface very well today with extremely hot water. I cleaned this entire surface several times just to make sure it was clean. Get all this stuff out of the way. We're gonna pour. He said to squeeze it and make sure if it forms like this, you know it's perfectly done. So that is good. Oh, I feel like my mother did this all the time. And as a kid, I loved watching her, but I had no interest in learning it myself. But now that I'm older, I am very excited about learning how to bake and cook. Make a well. You're going to pour your wet ingredients into the center of the well. And because this is a dry dough, we want it to get as much of that moisture as possible. So I'm going to make sure I get all of those eggs in there. That's my dog, you guys, drinking water. Ronnie, that's enough. So, knead this for 4 to 5 minutes until you form a soft dough. I've always wanted to do this. I don't know why. And then just squash it together until we form the dough. I don't know if Dwight wants to continue filming this or if he'll come back after I get it going. I feel like a little kid. I would make mud pies in my Easy Bake Oven when I was a kid. We lived in a trailer park. And I would gather mud and gravel and offer my neighbors mud pies from my Easy Bake Oven. Okay. I still have a ways to go. He said to knead this for about 4 to 5 minutes. If it feels dry, he said add 1 tablespoon of water at a time. You don't want it to get too wet or you'll have to add more flour. He said sometimes you may need 1 tablespoon of water, sometimes you may need 2 or 3, sometimes you won't need any. This doesn't feel like it needs any at all. It feels perfectly smooth, and I'm having the time of my life. Be sure y'all take off your wedding ring.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as fun as she made it out to be when I started, so I figured out it's kind of like, who was it, Huckleberry Finn or Tom Sawyer got the kids to paint the fence for him? It's kind of like that.
You guys, I'm so excited. This is
my
first time to
it
knead dough.
It does look like dough, that's for sure.
I'm so excited. I have never done this before, and this is fun. He said after about 4 to 5 minutes of kneading the dough, as long as it's smooth, just put it in a ball. We're going to put it back into the bowl and refrigerate it for 20 minutes to let it chill. So this feels incredibly smooth. It looks smooth. I'm gonna put it in this bowl. He didn't say whether or not to clean it out, but I'm gonna clean out this bowl really quick. Just to be safe.
You would just have a little bit of flour on your dough is all.
Well, somebody with experience may know, but look, I am so pleased, you guys. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, my mother's gonna flip when she hears I am actually baking. So in the refrigerator, uncovered. Let me move all my butter for 20 minutes. So I will be back in 20 minutes, and I'm so excited. I think I might call my mom during those 20 minutes.
No, you better not. You might not get off the phone in 20 minutes.
I'll set a timer.
Okay, all right.
We'll be back. Okay, so my 20-minute timer just went off. And yes, I did call my mother. I was so excited. She didn't faint, but she almost fell over. She can't believe that I actually made something from scratch. So, you don't even put it back on the surface. It says to just take about 2 tablespoons of the dough, pinching it off. I'm gonna guess that this is it. Make it into a ball. And then roll it about 5 inches long. Does that look about right?
I'd go just a tad longer. That looks good.
I'm trying to make sure it's even, but I don't know if I can do that or not.
It's
And here's the part I'm nervous about. Forming it into the S. Oh God, those are big. Is that too big?
No, they're not.
Okay.
You can never have a cookie that's too big.
And straight onto the parchment.
1 down, 49 to go.
He said this should make 50 cookies, but I think I'm making mine a lot bigger than his. Should I remake that?
It's up to you.
Maybe not so much dough this time.
Well, if you want them to bake the same, they have to all be the same.
Well, I might redo that one. Let's see what this one does.
Okay.
His definitely did not look that big. But this looks like it's going to be the same.
No. Roll it till it's the same. There you go. It's too fat on that one end. Down here, it's too fat. Yeah. Start over. I think it'll be good though.
Well, it looks about the same, you guys.
All right, 2 down.
I don't think I'm going to get 50 cookies. I think I'm making these a little too big. We'll see. So, I don't think you want to watch me roll all of these out. So, when I fill up a cookie sheet full, we'll come back. So, I've got 32 so far. I'm getting the hang of this. When I think I've got just enough, I take a pinch of it off and re-roll it. And I made all new S's because the other ones were so big. So, and I found by using one hand instead of 2, it helps me to, like that one's too skinny, so I'm just gonna re-roll it. All right. So, these will go into a 350-degree oven on the bottom shelf for 5 minutes and then on the top shelf for 5 minutes, and then they should be done. So, bottom shelf. For 5 minutes, and then the top shelf for 5 minutes. And while those are in the oven, I'm gonna fill up another cookie sheet so they'll be ready to go in. Hope these turn out. Oh man, one left over. So I got 53.
You could make it doesn't have to be an S cookie, it could be an I cookie. Or an L cookie.
So The first batch has been on the bottom rack for 5 minutes, and I just moved it to the top rack. It's got about 2 minutes left, and then I'm gonna take them out to cool, and then I'm gonna put these in. And once I get this last batch in the oven and the other ones are cooling, we'll come back and make the frosting for them, which is really simple. Okay, so my timer went off at 5 minutes on the bottom, 5 minutes on the top. They didn't look quite done to me, so I guess it varies on your oven. I put it in for 2 more minutes. So I think it's time to take them out now. Don't those look nice? I'm gonna put the next batch in the bottom. So I think they're done, even though they look really light on the top. I looked at the bottoms and the bottoms are brown. So I do think that they're done. We're gonna let those cool on a cooling rack over here on the pan, and then I'm going to make the frosting. So I'll be right back. Okay, so the cookies are all done and they're all cooled. We ended up with 55. If you're trying to count, you're gonna see 52. We had to make, or no, there's 53 because we ate 2. We took the biggest ones just to make sure that they were done, because we knew if the great big ones were done, the small ones definitely were done. And it made my hair stand up on my arms. I can't believe this is just flour, sugar, butter, and eggs. They are so buttery and so great. Hold on, what, Dwight?
And baking powder.
Oh, and baking powder.
And vanilla.
Oh, but they're so good. And I can't believe that I made these. So I'm so excited. Anyway, for those of you that bake, you're not going to understand my being excited, but I've never done this before besides Toll House cookies, but that's something different. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and start making the icing. It's just a very simple icing. Gonna do 1 cup. See why I keep it in the bag? Right there. 1 cup of powdered sugar. And if I need to make more, I'll make more. And 2 tablespoons of whole milk. Doesn't look like it's going to be enough, but I'm sure it is, because that's what the recipe calls for. Just get together. I may need to get out my spatula and I think I may have put a little bit more than a cup in there.
No, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Just get that spatula in.
I'm just wondering if I should add a little bit more milk.
No, wait till you get that mixed in.
Let's see what this does.
No, because it needs to be thick to stick. Trust yourself, baby. That looks perfect to me. Once you get that last little bit mixed in.
doesn't look like it'll be enough for all 50 cookies, but we're gonna see. Maybe I should have used a smaller dish, but let's see.
It'll be fine.
Now, he said you could use a pastry brush and brush this on, or you could simply just dip your cookie like that. Dip. And right back onto the baking sheet. You can make this your way. You can use sprinkles, you can use chocolate, you can do ganache. This is what the recipe called for. This is billyparisi.com. And I just wish I could thank him in person, because I'm thrilled that I was able to make these cookies and share it with you. Merry Christmas, y'all.
We'll be back.
Okay, I ran out of frosting with about 8 cookies to go, so I kind of halved the recipe. I'm gonna have a little extra, so maybe I might double dip some of these. But I'll let Dwight do a beauty shot here of all these wonderful S cookies. So I just want to let you know that you can make these 2 to 3 days up ahead of time. And I'm going to store them in plastic bags so that I can give them out as gifts. You can keep those in plastic bags at room temperature for up to 6 days. You can keep them in the refrigerator for up to 8 days. And they freeze in a freezer bag for up to 3 months. So what a great Christmas gift to give. You know, we're going to have to taste one with frosting. Do you want to taste one? One of the smaller ones that we frosted earlier. I'm going to split this with him. Show y'all the back. Now, some of these, the smaller ones got a little bit darker, but the larger ones, but they are so soft and buttery. They are so soft in the middle. They're just so buttery and fluffy and delicious. Hope you guys enjoy. I love them. Here you go, Dwight.